Hey again, my Gleneagles family, this is Victor and I'm one of your trainers. So my last video, if you were able to view it, I left off with talking about the differences of flexibility and mobility training. And I hopefully influenced the way that you think about stretching a little differently. So I left off saying something about AIS, or active isolated stretching, and that's a variation of stretching, or better yet, mobility training that we're going to actually be doing today. Before we get into that, I also did another video on the scapula. If you're able to refer back to that one first, try it out, get a better understanding of how that shoulder blade, scapula itself, the structure moves, and try those motions that I showed in that video before doing these, because that'll help to kind of warm those joints up a little bit. Alrighty, so we're going to start off first with a stretch called circumduction, or a movement, better yet, called circumduction, which is essentially just like an arm circle. Alrighty, so you'll set your position, if you can do this comfortably, that is, with the arm relaxed, one arm supporting, or if you can't do that position, hold on to maybe your dining room table or a countertop. Relax the opposite shoulder, and I want you to also imagine as if you're creating a slight bit of distraction there. And what I mean by that is, here's your humerus, this bone here, and the actual joint itself, right? I want you to imagine as if gravity was pulling that bone out of its socket slightly, and you're just kind of so relaxed you can just go into these small little circles. There's not much effort involved with these. What we're trying to do is just bring some laxity to that joint. So 15 in one direction, 15 in the opposite direction, and then you're going to go ahead and you'll do the same thing on the other side, right? One set only on those. Now we're going to move on to what I call horizontal abduction, or better yet, just bringing the arm out to the side. The arms, we can do this with both arms, we can do it with one arm, right? I'm going to actually do it with both arms just so you can influence and you do both sides at the same time, and then I'm going to show you a slight variation, let's say using a wall, that is. So I'll stand straight, arms here, in front of you, your midline, and you're going to go away from your body. Now when you're doing this one, with AIS that is, I'll show you this from the side, I want you to think about contracting the muscles posteriorly to influence the stretch to the front here, okay? And you're going to hold there for 2 seconds and no more than 2 seconds, alrighty? Don't cheat yourself. You're going to go for those 2 seconds. This is a method that was created by Aaron Mattis. It's something I really like. You're going to find yourself really warming up that joint. And you're going to develop quite a bit of body awareness here, right? Learn to be a little more in tune with your body is so important, especially when you're trying to do these variations of training, all right, as far as mobility goes, and developing that range of motion that you want through these joints. Good, so you're going to feel a nice stretch through the pec there. Now if that's too much on the shoulder, which some folks it may be just keeping the arm elevated, you might need a little bit of assistance using a wall, right? I'm going to use this beam here, but let's imagine we had a wall. You'll see this to the back side. I can go into this stretch, positioning my body with a little bit of rotation in the opposite direction. Here's my stretch. Now, you probably ask, well, how do I do the active component if I'm just holding and rotating the body? It's a little trickier, but it can be done. You're going to go ahead and elevate the arm, bring it back. Here's that portion where I'm bringing the arm back, and then I'm rotating as I'm trying to still bring that arm back a little bit. It sounds confusing, I know. You're thinking, well, how do I bring that arm back a little bit as I'm going the opposite direction? You can do it. It just takes a little bit of practice. Okay, so no more than 10 repetitions of those. We're only doing one set. If you want to do both arms, perfectly fine, all right? If you want to see what it feels like to use a wall, try that out as well. It's going to be a little different than the static stretching you've probably done before, where you just hold the stretch for 30 seconds or a minute. Remember, what I'm trying to tell you here is with the active isolated stretching, as I explained in that previous video, is you're trying to actively control that range of motion. You're not just hanging out here and camping out all day, right? Where yes, you will feel stretch, but there's nothing else really going on there. You're just trying to influence the elasticity or structure of that connective tissue. I'm trying to work to my joint here. I'm really creating a neurological component here by firing those muscles in that sequence, driving into a little more of a stretch. There's a lot going on here, okay, without having to get more into the complexity of it. So the next one we're going to do is similar. It's also going to be a variation of that horizontal abduction, but we'll do it with a slight bend at the elbow. This one I would prefer to use a wall. So I'll show you here, and then I'm going to show you over here. the arm behind, I can go from here to here, right? So I'll have you do this. I'll position from the side. Bringing the arm back. I'm going to lean into it a little bit, and then I'm going to twist just a little bit from my chest to the opposite direction. I'm still going to feel that stretch through the chest, all right? Might even feel to the front of the shoulder. 2 seconds. Come out of it. Take that step. Bring that arm back. Twist just a little bit. 1 and 2, and back. Same thing. Step. Rotate a little bit into it. You may even feel a slight bias into that mid-spine, the thoracic spine that is. Very minuscule rotation going on there as well. There might be even a slight influence through the shoulder blade itself as it tucks and retracts back a little bit. All right, so that is another variation of that horizontal abduction. I wrote it there as a bent elbow using wall. All right, so I'll take a close-up of that as you'll see going forward. Next one we're going to do is going to be hyperextension. Now the hyperextension is going to be of the shoulder joint again. You can do this same with both arms as we did with that horizontal abduction, or we can do single arm. And I'm going to show you a few different variations with this one as well, all right? And for many of you that may not be able to do these exercises standing, by the way, you can do them seated. It's perfectly fine. So, hyperextension, this is flexion. We're not going to cover those today, but we'll do that in another video. This will be extension. Okay, going back posteriorly. So I'll show from the side. There will be 3 different variations of the position or the orientation of the shoulder on this one that will have a direct influence on the muscles that we're actually trying to stretch or mobilize, that is. So, as I stand here, nice and tall, good posture, staying upright, you're going to go ahead and extend that arm back as far as you can go. In my case, this is about what I have right here. If I try to cheat, you'll probably see a little bit of this dump of the shoulder. We talked about that in the video with the scapula itself. So, motion from here, back, extend, 1, 2, down. Next one. I'm going to go back. I'm going to try to get a little further. 1, 2, and you're really paying attention to doing these without compensating. All right? I'm contracting a lot here. You probably see my tricep firing as I'm extending my elbow into it. You can't see me here without my shirt, but my lats back here are actually engaged as well. I'm extending, and there's even some posterior fibers involvement of my rotator cuff, that is, right, in some of these motions. So, hyperextension. We can obviously do these in both sides, and I'd like you to do that. You can do 8 to 10 reps on these. Now, I mentioned 3 different variations of grips, and take a break, because you're doing one side, then you're going to go to the other side, and then you go back to that other side. So my palm was facing me in that first one, towards my midline. I'm going to have you rotate. Now where the palm is back, still maintaining that upright posture, nice and tall. There even is a slight bit of involvement of my midsection here, right? Trunk is involved. It's not just like this. So, now that my arm has rotated, I'm going to extend back a little further. And this one might be more challenging. 1, 2. A lot of folks are missing that internal rotation of the shoulder. So as you start going from here to here, and then on the last one, it's going to be even more rotated inwards where the thumb is almost facing back. I'm going to extend back even further. Same thing, 2 seconds. In each rep you do, I want you to think about involving maybe a pound of pressure additional, all right? Don't go overkill. There you go. So, those are 3 different variations. You're really going to feel that shoulder warming up. It might even fatigue, okay? This is not easy stuff. If for somebody that decides it's too easy, put a wrist weight on. Don't go heavy, put a half a pound or a pound. You're going to find that being quite a bit of a challenge as well. Both arms, 8 to 10 repetitions. If you're finding one to create some pain or discomfort, stay away from it. You might be missing that rotation of the shoulder. That will be on our next segment, right? And we'll cover a little bit more about the rotator cuff and how we can influence it with active isolated stretching, that is. So let's see where we're at now. We just finished doing that hyperextension. Now we're going to go into a hands clasp. You've probably seen this one, you've probably done it in the past. It still involves that hyperextension of the shoulder, by the way, but there's a lot more mobility requirement here, okay? So, I will have you grab a rope. You probably won't have a rope. Grab a belt. If you don't have a belt, grab a small light towel, whatever it may be, okay? And we're going to find countertop, maybe your dining room table. Probably the dining room table is a little lower, and we're going to try to do a hand clasp. Before we do use our environment. You're going to try it first with just the rope or the object that you're using. Show this one again from the side, okay? So, good posture again, just like we were just doing on our last stretch. Nice and tall. You're going to extend those arms. You'll see that I'm engaged with my tricep a little bit here. Now, I'm not cranking out as hard as I can. I'm ready to engage. I'm active here, right? Now from here, I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to slowly lift up with both. So there's my stretch. That's a 1 and a 2. Back down. I'll lift off. 1, 2. Count that time when you get to your end range. So I'll get to the top. 1, 2. That's a stretch. Feel that through those muscles, right? We're targeting majority here through the front of the shoulder, through the pec. You're going to feel a lot of direct influence on what's going on the exact opposite side, all right, through the back. Now, my environment, okay? I mentioned maybe using a dining room table. So what you do is you're going to a slight split stance. We're going to elevate upwards. We're going to try to reach whatever object it is that we're using, and then we're going to come down into it. 1, 2, I'll come off of it. I'm going to lift off, come on, keep going, stay tight. Down in my stretch, 1, 2, okay? As you get better with these, you're going to bring the hands in a little closer, and even a little closer. But watch what happens real quick. Somebody like myself, where I have a little bit of tightness through my chest here, if I start bringing this closer and closer, what do you see? You start seeing that shoulder dump forward a little bit, right? So there's that protraction of the shoulder. We want to maintain a slight bit of retraction of that shoulder. If we can't maintain that, and we know we're compensating, it's really not going to be that beneficial for us as far as the stretch goes. It can actually probably be harmful for the shoulder joint itself. Okay? So, that covers the grounds with the hands clasped using the rope. I would use an object. For those of you that are really flexible, you can just clasp your hands. You can elevate up. You can use your environment. 1 and a 2. Lift off, good position and posture. Even for me, that's a bit too much, as you can see, okay? So, we're going to move on to the next stretch, and that's going to be the arms out to the sides, palm towards the back. So that's another variation of the horizontal abduction. The slight difference on that one is the palm is not facing that forward direction, it's actually facing back. Okay, so I'm going to use, well, first we'll do it in space, and then we'll do it with the wall. Alrighty, so I'll use my left arm, my right arm is just toasted now, fatigued. So, I'll set up, hand facing back. I'm going to come back at about a 45-degree angle, extending, right, because we did extension earlier. But I'm hitting a little more of that posterior fiber, slightly differently. And then I'm going to reach back a little bit. There's that stretch. Back down, I'm up, and I'm out to the side, 1001, 1002. Now pay attention, you're not dumping that shoulder forward, the shoulder blade that is, okay? Remember, maintaining good position and posture, right? So, I'll show that stretch here. Split stance, so that I'm not trying to fight and balance my position. Just make it a little easier for me. I'm going to come up at that 45, I'm going to extend back, and then what I can do here is I can lean into it a little bit and twist. There's that stretch through my shoulder again, right? That 1 and 2. So I'm up, out to the side, 1, 2. Let me do it with my opposite side so you can see the anterior view. It's back to my split stance, but I will be actually transferring my weight this way. So I'm going to elevate up, back at that 45. I'm going to reach back a little bit, and then I'm going to lean into that stretch for that 1 and that 2. And I'm up to the side, 1, 2. Perfect, all right? So that's that horizontal abduction with that bias, that internal rotation of the shoulder. You're going to feel a lot of work through the shoulders themselves doing these exercises, okay? And this is just one component of it. We have many more. I believe I'm going to have 2 other videos for you guys after this. So that's where we're going to stop today. I'm going to have you do 1 set of each. Don't overdo it, okay? This is a lot already as it is. And for some of you that aren't moving enough, just pick 1 exercise. Practice it. Don't overdo it. That's the big thing about anything that you do. I don't know if I mentioned in my previous video, is being consistent. I'd rather have you do a little bit and do it more often than trying to just overdo it all in one day, okay? So hopefully you can practice this active isolated stretching. It's a great method. We're going to go forward with it. I'm going to bring you some good material for the upper extremity, and then going forward, we're going to get into that lower body, okay? And hopefully, with how you're doing this, you are going to find some influence there. You're going to feel some muscles working there. You might even notice that your range of motion is going to change. You might move better, and hopefully you do move better, right? Because that's what you're doing this for, right? There's a lot more involvement here, as you can see, than if you were just doing a static stretch. Hope you enjoyed. I appreciate you guys viewing. Hope everybody's safe, and I'll see you next time. Alrighty? Thank you again. Take care.